Hey y'all, I totally forgot to add these clips in whenever I was doing the first plants in the garden, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw them in here so you kind of have an idea of what I planted in the garden. But here I was planting some old seeds. That's like the theme of the year, is to try and get through all of these older seeds that I had. And after doing my peas, I realized that I like making these furrows better than just pushing them into the ground. So I just made these long furrows and I planted all kinds of like radishes and turnips, and I even planted an old package of parsnip seeds that I had, and I believe those were from 2014. And whenever I was weeding later on in this video, I actually had a few of them come up. I didn't realize that's what they were because I had never grown them before, but they were so tiny, like just, I don't know, 2 to 3 inches long, and they were so cute, but they actually come up. So I could not believe that. But that was the theme, is to get all of these kind of root crops planted, and I'm actually planting these on a good below ground day where it's the dark moon phase. I do a video, or try and do a video every month of the growing season, where I share like all the different days that for planting that are good for the above ground plants, the below ground plants, the fertile days, all of that. And we use the moon phases and the astrological signs to know all of that information. It's kind of like the Farmer's Almanac, only more detailed to me. So I really like doing that. That has helped my garden so much. But that's what we were doing here, is planting a bunch of root crops. So I did pretty good. It kind of seemed like some of the seeds were a little bit too old, and it was kind of sparse, I guess, with how well they germinated. But I mean, that's to be expected with really old seeds. You kind of just do the best you can. But I'm proud to say that we have made a really big dent in all the old seeds, and it'll be almost like starting new here this coming year. So I'm really happy about that, and it's going to be nice to have all this old stuff out of our like seed stock that we have. Another root crop that I'm planting in this bed is beets, and they are doing really good. I think this is just the Detroit red beets is what I have here, but there are so many fun varieties. I really want to try the golden ones because they are supposed to not have the earthy flavor. I really don't know if I like beets that much. I'm struggling to find recipes that I like them in. That's what I'm trying to do, is to see if I can find recipes that I like these vegetables that are really easy to grow. So if you have any tips for people who don't like things like this very much, recipes or anything like that, I would greatly appreciate that if you leave that down in the comments below. And I will also share. If I end up finding something that works for me, I will share that too. Next up, we're going to try and plant some things around this big oak tree that we have. I love this tree, but I have wanted for years and years to grow hostas, and I have been also trying to grow more strawberries, and Walmart had both of those on clearance whenever I was there. I think I got the packages for like $1 a package, and you got several per package if I'm not mistaken, at least with the strawberries you did. So that's what I'm going to plant around here. As far as now, let's see, it's several months later, I have yet to see anything come up, and whenever I was planting them, the bulbs didn't look so good. They were kind of dried up and stuff, so I was kind of wondering if I was doing this for nothing. But yeah, haven't seen anything. I don't know if they're gonna come up or not, but hopefully they will. I still have hope. But yeah, I hope that they do, and I think if they don't, I still am going to try and put some plants around here. I think it would be really pretty just to do hostas and not strawberries. I don't know. I just have a feeling that that might be the better way to go and just kind of make it pretty instead of like trying to put like plants that you would eat and stuff around it. But yeah, that's what we're trying to do here. Let me know down in the comments if there's something that didn't turn out for you, whether it's just things that didn't germinate, issues with critters getting them, or whatever. That way we don't feel alone, because sometimes that can get discouraging as gardeners whenever things don't go right. But it's nice to know that you're not the only one, that this really does happen to everyone, and you never know. That's kind of the thing with gardening. It's kind of like a gamble, and you don't know what's going to actually work or not based upon whether it's a seed issue from a company or if it's pests, or even just like the weather could cause problems. So y'all leave a comment down below so everybody in the community feels a little bit better if things don't work out 100% as planned. the lawnmower is broken. That's why the grass needs to be mowed so much. We're waiting on the parts to get here, but I just had to show how pretty all the alfalfa flowers are. They are so pretty. I love purple anyways. So this is amazing that they're purple like this. This is so crazy. Robert planted this out with just alfalfa sprouts last year that were pretty old, and they have come up and survived the winter, and they are doing great. Okay, I also wanted to show how pretty these volunteer sunflowers are. We got several different varieties here, and they are just so pretty. Some of them have already bloomed and they're like starting to bend down. So I wanted to be sure and get it before they did that, because this one is amazing. I love branching sunflowers. They are my absolute favorite, and they are doing so good. Like, look at how pretty that is. And there's like these little ones here. It's just everywhere. They're even down here. Like, they are so pretty. I love them so much, and the bees are really happy. He's just got pollen covering all over his little feet. Oh, I scared him. Okay, so we'll come over and look at these two. Like, there's more on this side. I can't believe it. And we'll see if we can get this bigger one. There we go. There's that one. But yeah, we have got all of those, and then I've got them like everywhere. This is so amazing since I didn't do the ground cover. There's more there. Our peas are about at the end of their life, and the garden does need to be weeded. I'm about to start on that, and also replanting things that did not come up. But as you can see, there's some that's already at the end of their life. They'll be putting on seeds here for too long. And then we got more over there, and then this is the flower garden. Oh, I didn't even notice this. The rutabaga is starting to flower. And then I noticed, hopefully I'm not going too fast, like, look how tall these perennial sunflowers are this year. This is the Maximilian sunflowers. And then here's them again, some more of them, and they're about to bloom. The poppies, they're pretty. We had a really big rain. Like, I think we got over 5 inches over 2 days, but most of it was just 1 day. And there's a lot of things beat down, especially our potatoes. I forgot to show that. But yeah, they're doing good. This is the woolly lamb's ear and the yarrow, and just look how tall that is. And even the peas too. Hopefully it's not too bright, but the peas are as tall as the arbor. They're doing good. I definitely need to weed. I'm seeing some weeds here, but these are volunteers too. These zinnias, there's one there and there's one there, but they are so cute. And I love those ones over there, the branching ones. I just love them so much, and that's so awesome. They just came up and were volunteers. But yeah, you see that there? I've got a lot of weeding to do before I get this all these things replanted. There were quite a few things that didn't come up, so we're gonna work on weeding and get all of that done next. But they're so pretty. I wanted to show. And this catnip is massive too. Like, look at that, it's so big. Okay, well, we'll see you in just a bit. Can y'all believe how many weeds had grown up in about a month's time? I think that's what it was. And I had even come out here and weeded here and there. It's just this grass. This is why we did the ground cover last year, is because of the grass. We have, I think it's Bermuda grass and like some nut grass, and I know there's a couple other ones. I think one of them might be like goose grass or something like that, and they are just, I don't know, so invasive, I guess, and they just completely take over. Also, something I learned that was a really big mistake, whenever I first put in my garden beds, I didn't have that big of an issue with the weeds, but one year I didn't do the leaves, and I used the grass clippings to try and be like a mulch, because we have such severe summers where we have drought, and it's super hot too. And I had did that, and since then I have struggled with all of this grass. So if you have a nice garden bed with good soil and no weeds, I suggest to not do the yard clippings. I had seen where someone who lives further north had did that, and that works great for them. But in the south, with these invasive weeds, and I don't know what it is, they just seem to take over everything. So that was a big no-no, and I am still paying for this. But another reason that we didn't do the ground cover is because I was wanting to try and get through some of these seeds, like the like all the root crop vegetables and different things like that, that is, you really, unless if you put like strips or you do like a ton of little holes in your ground cover, you can't plant any of that. It's just really hard. So I just decided this year to see if like putting it down last year would kill the grass. Obviously that didn't work. So this year I'm just gonna try and use up as many seeds as I can, and I'm just gonna reassess next year and see what I end up doing. I don't know if I'm gonna put the ground cover back down. It was so nice to not have to do all of this weeding. Last year the weeding was so much easier, but also it was a lot more work because I was having to burn the holes. Now if I reuse it, I won't have to do that, but I will still have to put it all down, which is also time consuming. So I'm not sure what the easiest solution is. So I'm gonna have to reassess at the end of the year and see how all this goes. But if y'all live in the South and you do use the ground cover or anything else that helps with keeping down the weeds, not grass clippings, because that did not work, but if y'all have any other suggestions. Oh yes, I've also done the wood chips too. I did kind of like the Back to Eden garden stuff, and I found that we had so many pests, like especially the pill bugs or roly-polies. Those were so bad, and they will completely eat down your plants. So I do not like to use wood chips. And also, whenever we had the wood chip pile, we actually had a copperhead lay eggs in there, and they had babies, and that was terrifying to have that in there as well. We usually don't have too horribly bad of a problem with that, but the snakes really love that, I guess because it stays so warm. They did that over the winter, I think. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. I had seen someone post on Instagram, and they were saying like propaganda that I don't subscribe to, and that was one of the things, like the Back to Eden garden and stuff. So I kind of was like a mind shift. I was like, wow, maybe that kind of is, or maybe it's just it works great in certain parts of like the United States. For us, like I think they were more northern, and those types of things just don't work for us in the South, because I think we have such horrible invasive weeds that it does not work. I am kind of understanding now why so many people around here use tillers, because I think honestly that is about the only way you can go to keep up with the weeds. They are just so invasive. Oh, another thing I totally forgot to mention in my last video, where I planted out all of my like tomatoes and peppers and sweet potatoes and those types of things all in one day. One thing that I have this year that was totally different is I started using these leather gloves, and those are a life changer. Last year I had so many blisters, and I did this over like 3 or so days I think last year, and this past year I did it in one. But these leather gloves are so nice. I highly recommend those over just normal gardening gloves. They help so much. I did not have any sores or calluses or anything this year, even with all the planting and all the weeding and everything I've done in the garden. It has been so much nicer. So I highly recommend leather gloves. You can go and get all kinds of different ones, like they have different skins and stuff. I think if it was, I can't remember exactly which one it was, if it was goat or sheep or maybe even deer, but they were like really soft, and you had more flexibility in them too. So I really like those. But that is a complete game changer this year. It has been so much nicer not to have sores all on my hands for weeks and weeks. So that has been great, and I highly suggest that if you have issues with that and do a lot of gardening, they are invaluable. Also, I was talking about the garden planting calendar that I use earlier, and my schedule has been so crazy, so I'm just doing things on the days that I actually have available. And this day was actually a very fertile day, so it is technically not the best day to be doing your weeding, but I also needed to replant a bunch of seeds that did not sprout. I wanted this year so badly for my arbor to have all of these different vining crops and to be covered and look so pretty, but that did not work very well. A lot of my seeds did not germinate, or they were getting super leggy from all of these weeds. So this was the only day that I had available, so I had to pack all of the weeding in plus all of the replanting. So even though I do all of this garden planting calendar, things do not always go as planned, and you just have to do the best that you can. I really like to use it to keep me from like procrastinating. Like, this is the last day that I have to get so and so done, and I just have to do whatever I can. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that that's the way this was. Like, this was the last very fertile day that I had, and that it was going to start in like a couple days, shift to the below ground plants. And so I think that's what I was doing here, so I just had to get it done. But yeah, even I don't do it exactly as I would like to in a perfect world, and when my life wasn't as crazy, I used to be able to follow this better. But it's still nice to kind of have a guide, especially with planting. You can do it on the very fertile days. Now that I got this garden bed all cleaned up, it's time to replant more things that did not sprout. I'm was hoping that I could do sunflowers and okra back here. I thought that would be great for the rattlesnake beans to grow up that ended up sprouting, and they're actually doing really good. I have planted this twice, and we've had really good conditions. Like, it has rained a lot, and it almost like every day, and it's been really warm, so I don't know what's going on, but I did not have the best germination. There may be a couple out here, and I planted so many seeds. I even went and got brand new seeds from this year. And I am still struggling, so I don't know what's going on. Hopefully I can figure it out and next year have better seeds, because I was really hoping to do that this year. I guess maybe we'll try again next year and it'll be all nice and pretty. I thought that would just look beautiful with the sunflowers all struggle. I am on day 2 of I don't know how many hours of trying to edit this thing. So if y'all enjoy our channel, I would really appreciate the encouragement. I don't know why this one is so hard, but thank y'all all so much for sticking around through all of the changes that we've had in the channel, and I just really appreciate everybody so much. So just to share a few different options if you're wanting to grow some vining crops up your trellises, these are some of the things that I planted, that some of them ended up germinating but not near enough of what I wanted, or any at all. But some of the things I did, first off, was the loofah gourd. This grows so well in the south. I think I had 1 or 2 plants, and it pretty much took over this whole 3 trellis system of my arbor, and they have the most beautiful yellow flowers that the bees absolutely love. And that 1 year of growing the loofah sponges, it produced so many. It was amazing. And also, here's a tip: if you do grow loofah sponges, don't make the same mistake I did and try and, whenever they're dried, peel them with your fingers. My poor fingers were so sore and cut up. The trick that I learned to do is to use a butter knife, and it just peels right off, and it is so amazing. So please don't let your poor fingers suffer like me and just use that. But that is a great plant to put on these arbors. It is so beautiful, and it covers it so beautifully too. I just absolutely love it. Another thing that grows really well in the south that is actually squash bug resistant, and I think I even didn't have problems with vine borers or anything is the rampicante squash. And I believe if you use it when it's young, like the fruit is young, it's more like a summer squash, but I think you can leave it on the vine until it kind of turns orangey and it is more like a winter squash. I have not done that yet, and so I don't know exactly how long it will last, but I've heard of other people doing that. And then the last trellis, I also tried to do bird gourds. I thought that would be really fun to put some of those around, but I think those were just some cheap seeds I had got from the Dollar Tree years ago, and I don't think any of those came up. Let's see, other things that I did was the snake gourd. I had got seeds from Papa Pepper on YouTube, and these also produced really well. They were squash bug resistant and also didn't have issues with the vine borer and were very productive. I think those were even more productive than the rampicante squash for me. Other options is you can do beans, like the pole beans of any kind. A lot of people like to do the Chinese long noodle beans, and especially if you do the purple ones, they are so pretty. But I will warn you, these plants seem to always get attacked with aphids. I have some growing along with just normal pole beans, and the aphids are like covering the whole one of the noodle beans that ended up germinating, and the other beans are just fine. So that is one negative to them, and also they don't do well if you like can them and stuff. So I'm not the biggest fan of that, but they're not bad just to throw in stir fries or something fresh, or you can freeze them too. Other things that are great to do is like cucumbers. I love that. One of my favorites is the Armenian cucumber. They always do really well here. And other options you could do like pumpkins and things like that. I actually have one volunteer plant, and I think it is a pumpkin, and it is already stretched from the back of the arbor all the way to the front, and I'm trying to like grow it up and back down. I wasn't the best of making it go over because I didn't realize that's what it was, and I didn't pay enough attention. So hopefully I'll be able to get that to grow, but I'm trying to remember what else. Another thing I've done is the moonflower. Those are beautiful, but they only last a day, I think. I think I did another one called a cardinal flower, and it was really pretty. It has a really pretty yellow flower that the hummingbirds absolutely love, and I know there are tons of other ones. That's just all I could think about right now. And yeah, pretty much any like squash or gourd or something like that that's vining looks great on it, and it's so neat too because they just hang down. Melons, you could also do melons too, so there's all kinds of different options, and they're just so fun. I highly recommend them. All that I used for mine is cattle panels and T-post, so it's really fun, and I've had mine for years and years, and it has held up great. After many hours later and lots of work, we have finally got all of this cleaned up. I got it all weeded here and all weeded on the inside. That was like a whole wheelbarrow's worth of just that. There was some things growing here that I had planted. I can't remember at the moment what it was, but I went ahead and put in moonflower here. And went ahead and, sorry about that, I went ahead and planted Armenian cucumbers here, and I think there might be a few that had already sprouted. And then I tried to do the noodle beans here. I only had one come up, so at the store I was able to find some Kentucky Wonder pole beans, so we're going to do that there. And let's see, I think I did loofah here, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, what else? Oh, no, I didn't. I did the butternut squash here. That's what I did here. And then I did the loofah down here. It's got such pretty flowers, and the bees absolutely love them. And I did a few of the white and orange pumpkins here. So that's what we did with those. And then with lots of work, we got all of this cleaned out for the most part. There's still weeds here and there, but it looks tremendously better. I had planted these rattlesnake pole beans. I've got my peas here too, but they'll be ready to take out here in a few weeks. Once it finally dries up some, I think I'll be ready to save the seed. But I did rattlesnake pole beans. I did sunflowers, the second round of sunflowers to try and get those to come up, and a second round of okra because those didn't come up either. So that's what I had planned on doing back here. And then we have all of our paste tomatoes, and I haven't done anything everything up front here, the radishes, are going to seed. I'm not sure, well, actually, I'd planted lots of Dollar Tree beans here, and the germination was so-so. Some of them did really good, and most of them did not do good. So that's where we are there. Yesterday, I got this pretty much all weeded here, and there's this really wild fungus here too. It's really wild looking. And I planted some sunflowers down here and zinnias at the end of the beds there. And I had got this the day before weeded with the peppers and sweet potatoes. I did that the other day too. So we have all of that done. And I was looking at the potatoes. If you look in there, there are several potatoes. I know they're kind of green. I probably need to hill them up even more. But we had really bad like torrential downpours. We had over 5 inches of rain. That's why it's like all laid down like this. But yeah, I was looking and there's potatoes. So these will be ready to harvest here probably within the next month too. But it was looking like really pretty and tall and lush, and then we got them crazy heavy rains, and it really did a number on things. But that's where we are with that, and the pretty sunflowers. It's still so pretty today. So I think that's everything for today. Now we're on to another day, and as you can tell, the peas are pretty much completely done. We had some really hot days and they just pretty much petered out. So one thing I really needed to do this year is to save some seeds from them. Last year I made the mistake of throwing all the stalks and everything into buckets and just saying I'll get to it later. Well, it was several months later and everything had molded, so that was no good. I didn't get to save any seeds last year. So this year I'm going to try and do better. So as you can tell where I'm starting out, I did this new experiment where I tried to grow the peas. My favorite is the sugar magnolia tendril peas. They are purple and so pretty and so big, but the thing is they have lots and lots of tendrils, and instead of climbing up the rope like I had hoped, they ended up latching onto each other and basically just making this big mess, this big wadded mess, and not going straight up on the areas that I tried the rope experiment with. So that was a fail. I'm not going to do that again. I'll have to just stick to fencing. But also, when I noticed whenever I was doing this that they did not seem to produce near as much and like near as many seed pods or seeds as well as the other areas where they were on the fence. So that was another thing I noticed. But yeah, I was definitely trying to go ahead and save the seeds this year. Beans and peas are one of the easiest places to start whenever you're learning to save seeds. Another mistake I did, you can tell that I was throwing everything into this silver or like stainless steel bowl, and I really should have went and got baskets. I was tired. It was the end of the day and I did not do that, and I should have done that because some of the ones I left it for a few days. Some of the ones were starting to just barely get a little bit of mold on it in the middle. But what I did is after a few days, I really should have tackled this sooner, but I did not. After a few days of them sitting, I went ahead and took them out of the pods and I put them in pillowcases. I found that is the easiest thing to do. And I just hung them in front of our air conditioner and they're already really dry now. Another thing I'm going to do with my seeds, since I have kind of had an issue with them here recently. I had kept them for a long time and didn't really have this issue, but I think I'm going to start saving them in the freezer and see if that prolongs their life so that I can use them for a longer period of time. That's another experiment I'm going to try this year, so hopefully that will work out well. But I am so happy. I ended up getting a lot of seeds, so I may not even need to save seeds next year, but these are my absolute favorite. And also with seed saving, another benefit is that whenever you save your own seeds, they kind of become more acclimated to your climate. And I have noticed that these seem to produce more and be even happier than the first batch that I had originally gotten from Baker Creek. So I am a big believer in that. It's great. These are super super easy. I also have videos on my channel of other different seeds you can save. They're all pretty easy. Some of them are harder, but especially if you're just growing one variety of something, you don't have to worry about things cross-pollinating, and it's just really easy. So I think that's what we're doing here. We're going to work on this one bed, and also you can tell how much the garden has grown since that last video. It has really taken off, and you can really tell because it has gotten hot and we've had a lot of rain, almost like the perfect conditions. So the garden is really happy right now. Now we're at another bed that I did the exact same experiment with, and they were such a mess. I really messed up with trying this, but at least now I know. Another good thing to do is to keep a garden journal. That way you can keep track of all your failures and successes, and it's just really easy to look back and remember, and I suggest being sure and doing it through the garden season, as well as making sure as soon as the garden is done to write any notes of things that you remember for that year, like good things, bad things, things you struggled with, just kind of like an overall review. That way it's, while it's still kind of fresh in your mind, if you didn't do it like day by day or week by week or something like that, that's another good thing to do, because it is crazy how fast you forget these things, and it is so helpful to have a garden journal, and it helps so much. Also in this area, it is such a mess. I planted multiple different times okra and tomatoes, because here I was going to try and have that at the back of the bed, and I was going to grow these rattlesnake beans up them. And actually these seeds were from like I think 2018, and they germinated so good. But my sunflowers and my okra, I even went and did a second round of these. They did not germinate very well, so unfortunately that did not go so good. But yeah, we have that, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my rattlesnake beans. They're kind of growing up the tomato cages. Hopefully that won't be an issue. And another thing I did too is I have a really big problem with the weeds kind of encroaching into this garden bed, and I planted comfrey all along it to try and help. And so far, most of them germinated. I think almost all of them germinated, and we'll see as they grow bigger if that helps with the weeds, and possibly maybe even help the plants do better and produce more too. So I'm curious about that as well. Now we're finally on to these arbor trellises, and they did so good this year on this arbor. They were literally taller than the arbor. I was so happy with how well they turned out, and also they were so much easier to harvest this way, so I definitely need to be sure and do it on fencing next year. It was made everything so much easier, and the pods seemed to produce more, probably because they weren't in a little mangled mess. But they did so much better this way, so I definitely need to remember that, to do it that way. These are such pretty plants. If you have not grown these sugar magnolia tindril peas, I highly suggest it. They are so beautiful. They are like one of my favorite plants ever. They just grow so massive and have the prettiest flowers, and I cannot sing their praises enough. They are so beautiful. Now that I'm on the other side of the arbor, I'm having to be really careful because I have my cherry tomatoes planted here, and they kind of all weave together. Like I said, I was not the best at this, keeping up with it. Life has just been so busy, but I'm doing the best that I can, and I have got them kind of growing up that fencing now, and they're doing so much better. I love growing my cherry tomatoes up the arbor. It's just a really fun little thing because you can harvest them easier, and I think they generally grow so big that there's really no cage that can hold them. So I find that is like the best way to grow cherry tomatoes. But yeah, the peas are doing really good, and we are almost done. I planted so many this year that I'm so glad that we're almost done, and I'm actually saving the seeds the correct way this year. Now that we have all of the seeds, all that's left to do is clean up. So I have to go around and get all of these big massive piles. There were several wheelbarrow loads full, even with me compressing it down, and I just went ahead and put all of this in our burn pile There was so much of it. I really didn't know what to do, and I really need to start my compost pile somewhere else because I do not have a good spot for it right now, and I've kind of moved it. So yeah, that's an issue, but I need to that's another thing. To-do list. I need to add that to the to-do list. But look at how many we ended up with our pea seeds. There was so many. I have big bags of them filling the pillowcases. They are so nice. I think I'm gonna definitely have enough for multiple years.
I'm super excited. It was really tough. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was definitely a different ball game.
It's been a long fight. It's been a long fight, and I just had to have a warrior spirit, and that's all. So I'm just.
You don't like to dance? Come on, do the cha-cha. Shorty Spanish, so you like to call me Papa.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
You guys have officially made me lose my marbles!
Thank y'all all so much for watching and spending time in the garden with me today. I hope that your gardens are doing well and producing abundantly. Thank you again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye.